Hi everyone, this is Christy Kruger, anchor and health reporter right here at WPLG TV in South Florida, and you're watching the NAB show live.
Live from Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hey guys, Larry Becker. We are broadcasting live from the NAB studio in Las Vegas. All right, so this segment is actually about citizen journalism and the impact of live streaming on the news. And I have two amazing guests. I'm very excited about the couple of folks that have been able to make it here because of their relationship in the emerging live streaming for individuals. Now we have Ryan A. Bell. So he is our first guest. Ryan is a CEO at Backlamp. Ryan is a digital storyteller, connector, and a tech lover in live video and virtual reality. His speaking engagements range from CES to VidCon, and topics range from VR screenwriting and app content creation to philanthropy and community, and that's how I know him. As a partner at Backlamp LLC, as founder of Summit Live, the world's largest conference centered around non-traditional media, his team bridges entertainment and technology with the mentality of bringing the world together to innovate, connect, and educate. He's been recognized by the Presidential Office for his volunteer work with Special Olympics and youth mentoring programs. Please visit Ryan at ryan.live or connect on Twitter at https://twitter.com Ryan_A_Bell. I made it, so give Ryan a welcome, please. Thanks for coming in, Ryan. Malia Probst is my other guest. She's a virtual reality producer and connector with Journalized Media, Journalized Reality, and Reality Inspired LLC. Malia was born an entrepreneur and bred in Indiana, a little bit different. And after graduating from Indiana University, she ran from the cold to the West Coast. She's now based in LA. She's a virtual reality producer, connector, and host with roots in the luxury, hospitality, and social strategy spaces. She's an advocate of all technology and tools that enable humans to raise the consciousness as a 12-pound terrier mix. Has a 12-pound terrier mix named Brentley. You know, I'm gonna offer to do commercials for the AutoCue prompter people. I just blew it so bad on my prompter, but I am so happy to have Ryan and Malia here. Thank you guys for putting up with my awful intros.
I think we learned that we need to have shorter bios. I think
shorter bios?
Yeah, that's basically
Yeah,
it.
but they're so rich. They're so worthwhile. Now,
I thought you did a great job.
I didn't know half of that stuff about myself.
Thank you guys for doing this. So, the overall topic is citizen journalism and live streaming media. And you guys, I've asked you here because you're so immersed in the growth, the explosion, but in a very short period of time, and you've both come to the forefront. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about your earliest experiences personally in live streaming media. Ryan, would you start us off? What was your first thing that you did?
I was actually writing a book at the time, and somebody told me to get on Periscope, and so I'd never been on it before, and I got on Periscope. It was my first type of live streaming. Malia is actually quite earlier than me in live streaming, but mine was just connecting to a community. And so I would talk about what I was doing and become accountable. I promised my audience, that was very small at the time, like I'm going to write 3,000 words or something. And then at the end of the day, I would come back to it and I would tell that same community what I did, and we would talk about ideas and everything. And so I kept thinking about how powerful it was, and that's when these ideas started to spark for people like she and I about what we could build that's related to this new kind of emerging media.
So when was that you really got started?
It would have been 1 year ago on the 6th of this month.
It's phenomenal how far the field, and specifically how far you've come in that 1 year. And I've watched a lot of where you've come from. Malia, tell me about your earliest in
So you were
live
on the
streaming.
6th of April.
Yeah.
I was on the 4th of April.
Okay.
2 days before.
So, like, that's a really long time, right? I thought she was just an old head. I thought she'd been there forever.
No, I downloaded Meerkat, I think the first or second day it came out, watched a bunch of people having a ton of fun at South by Southwest last year. Periscope came out a couple of days later. I got on to do some beta testing for my marketing company, and we've since expanded, and we also do virtual reality production as well. But I got on to do beta testing and figure out what makes this technology work. What are the skills, what are the tricks, what are the tips that I could bring to my clients? Because I saw that this was going to be a game changer.
Sure.
I saw this would give tools, more tools, to brands and companies, and be able to let people connect with other people all across the world. And I said, I need to get on this, and I need to figure it out. So I did, and I said, you know what? I want to do content. You know, at that point, in the very early days, it was a lot of,
It was the lifestyle stuff.
running around talking to your phone, right?
Right.
And I said, I'm going to do content. And so I did a daily news show where we talked about the news. I think I was the first person to live stream from a drone. We live streamed from a drone in the vineyards over Santa Barbara. It was amazing. I think about 800 people watched that. And it's been a phenomenal way to get to meet people in our own backyard as well as across the globe.
Sure. And one of the words that you guys have come up with that I absolutely love, and it really does encapsulate what's going on with live streaming media by individuals, without a team, without the switches behind everything. They've downloaded an app, but you said the word community, and you're building an audience. You both have a real connection with the community. And that's something that is next level now, because it's built into the structure of the software. So go down that path a little bit. What do you think about this community?
So for what my company does, we help live streaming apps to be successful. We've actually consulted with Periscope. We've actually consulted with Facebook Live. And community is imperative. And for people like us, our community is now global. And it's funny to me because I know everybody's Twitter handle now. We were titling something. I was like, you're at the Malia. And there's at Ben Leonard. There's at Stones by Stacy, or on Twitter she's at Stacy May because she has two. But it's the community is the most amazing thing, and that's what makes it work.
Sure.
And so I started to see these vortexes occur. Like when people would have meetups, there would be the social media vortex, because the first big Periscope explosion happened in New York. And these people would get together, and you just see this culmination of awesome. And so I was like, what do we do? What happens if we get critical mass here? What happens if we get 100, 200, 300, 500 of these influencers or digital nomads or whatever we want to call them together? What's going to happen? And so we did that in September of last year when the Pope was in town, and we trended on Twitter while the Pope was in town with 500 people.
That's awesome.
Because of the power of community, and it was the worst hashtag. We were using the hashtag Periscope Summit, and it still worked because the power of the community and believing in a common thing. And
I thought you were going to say hashtag Periscope Pope.
Hashtag haven't got a prayer, right?
Yeah.
So that works really well. Now, Malia, with respect to using and leveraging social media in the form of live streaming for marketing clients,
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What kinds of clients are you helping, and how are they getting something from this experience?
Sure. There are a couple of international organizations. One is International Champions Cup that we worked with last summer. But in terms of that community, when businesses or brands or people are focusing on just an audience, that's a one-to-many, right? And once we bring in the sense of community, that means there's a conversation. That means there's a dialogue. That means there's mutual reciprocity. And so when anyone whether you're general public, whether you're Joe Schmo, whether you're the Pope. By having a community, there's a dialogue. And again, there's that give and take, and there's not just this billboard blasting of message over and over and over again. You know, we're not paying attention to those anymore. We're not paying attention to billboards. We're tired of the slick packages. You know what I mean? Advertising has been around so long. Consumers are very sophisticated, and we're tired of the one-way messaging.
Well, and that is the beauty of these new tools, is that instant and real audience connection. And the fact that when I'm watching one of the Periscopes or Facebook Live from either of you, if I make a comment, you might chuckle and go, yeah, Larry, that's exactly what we're talking about. And that is gold. And that's something that you can't always do with traditional streaming media. You do have chat rooms, right? And we know that a lot of times those are moderated chat. This is real, it's raw. You don't get a second take. You don't have the studio and stage set up. Now, let me ask you this with respect to your clients and your friends and people that you've brought along into this and coached into it. What is it like for the people that are terrified to go live? How do you coach them through that? You guys have personalities that work going live. I love to go live. In spite of whatever might be going on the set or craziness going on, it doesn't bother me or scare me, but it does a lot of my friends, and they're like, oh no, I would never do that.
Right.
What kind of experience like that with your clients?
I can tell you my personal story. Before I hit that go button the first time, oh my gosh, I was absolutely terrified. I mean, terrified, shaking, and I just made myself do it. And so that same message goes for anyone. Just do it. The audience knows that it's raw, and the community that you're taking part in knows that it's raw, it's honest, it's not scripted, or maybe it's scripted a little bit, but everything is going to go wrong. So if you just count that things are going to go wrong, then you're pleasantly surprised when things don't go wrong. And so I say, get over it. Just press that button and hop on out there.
First off, I'm kind of surprised. I've never seen you scared of anything, which is interesting. I think that telling somebody that it's not a permanent relationship, like if it doesn't work, you just don't worry about it. It's just a testing thing. Have somebody on with you, you know, like share your screen and be like, you know, these are my friends, and this is how you communicate with them, and this is how you do this. So you kind of do a little preamble. Or you can do something like Blab. Like Blab is a very good platform. If you're not familiar with Blab, it's blab.im, and it's a platform like it has Brady Bunch type of thing. You have a wonderful show on that where you have 4 windows in a square, and it's like Google Hangouts on steroids. Like if Google Hangouts actually did it right, which they don't, Google Hangouts, I'm looking at you, you're not doing it right. And there's a live audience that's commenting while there are up to 4 people talking. And so Blab is a really powerful thing because you're able to do it in an interview style where all of the weight is not on one broadcaster, like on Periscope or the now deceased Meerkat. You know, sorry.
R.I.P. Rest in peace.
All right, well, let's talk about that, because this whole thing has evolved in the past year. So 12 months ago, we hadn't done this, and now, Ryan, you've held 2 conferences. I met you at the second one. It was a blast. It was a huge experience for me to go and meet in person many of these people that I had watched their live streams. So it's engagement at that next level. But where are we going now based on what happened last week with announcements from Facebook and with promises from YouTube and the explosion in social media individuals streaming?
I'm like excited about this question because it's kind of the Coke versus Pepsi thing. Like, is there enough space for multiple? Yes, because they're going to be different enough and they're going to mirror what owns them. Like YouTube's going to be direct monetization.
Yeah.
Facebook is going to work so well for brands. Periscope is going to be a global audience. I'm going to see a lot more people doing dual streams, like just to cover all their bases. So last year I was talking about how 2016 is going to be a year of collaboration, a year of a lot of tools working together. We see this in VR as well, where you feel like you're making a car from a junkyard. Like, instead of just going to get a car, you're making it from a junkyard. Everything's breaking, and we're constantly trying to fix it. So it's this wonderful time of collaboration and building. And so next year is going to be cleanup time. I don't think I know. Like I know.
Go for it.
Like this is a very exciting year because community and collaboration are such big parts of what's going on in all technology. It's just, if you don't know how wonderful 2016 is, just start reading the news, start reading about what people are making and who they're making it with.
The thing that I think is so much fun is you guys have a grasp on the technology. You're watching the industry change. We are doing things like adapting and adopting dual broadcasting and looking at the new platforms and the new promises. And we aren't making the final judgment call. So I asked you that open-ended question, where is it going? And you're like, we're still figuring it out. We're cobbling it together. We're putting these pieces together.
I can tell you where it's going.
Okay, I'm ready.
I can tell you exactly where it's going. Facebook bought Oculus in the spring of 2014. They dropped $2 billion on it. Facebook has, 1.6 billion people in the world on it. Facebook has a lot of skin in the game to get people using 360 technology, to get them into the metaverse, to get them into virtual reality, right? They have a very vested interest in this. So brands are seeing so much engagement, such amazing penetration with 360 stills and 360 videos on Facebook. Why? Because the algorithm is favoring them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're amazing and they're new, and so the general public really enjoys interacting with them. But there's a reason why those are rising in the algorithms, just like Facebook Live was promoted in the algorithms as well. So where is this going? If live streaming, two-dimensional live streaming, is a more honest portrayal of actual events other than mainstream news, perhaps, when we're talking about citizen journalism. If it's a more honest portrayal, then perhaps a 360 live stream in the hands of a citizen journalist is the most honest. If in a two-dimensional perspective, we still have a frame, right? The director is still making directorial choices. We're still framing something.
Sure.
But if we have the ability to look around, can things be staged? Yeah. But if we have the ability to look around and we have that 360 degrees to look around in, that context is expanded. And so it's a more democratic way of distributing news and distributing content. So right now, there are apps that are utilizing live streaming and 360 cameras, and I think that we're going to see Facebook join that very soon.
Very interesting. And any predictions about the impact of YouTube when they get very heavily into the live stream?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube has been in the live streaming space for quite some time, and I've heard on the roadmap that YouTube is getting into live 360 streaming within the next 6 months. That's on the roadmap.
Yeah, and that's natively where people are used to going for video. So,
Sure.
a lot of people aren't going to spend the time like watching the F8, watching the Facebook stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to learn about what the roadmap is, because Zuckerberg put out 10 years in the future, which in my opinion feels like 100. Like in technology, if you say, this is what's going to happen in 10 years, like, no, that's just
Every
crazy.
prediction will be wrong.
What is Zuckerberg? I don't know. It's crazy. So Jan Razab, the CEO of Social Bakers, wrote a wonderful piece that's very short. And if you find him, his last name is R-E-Z-A-B, and that's a very short thing on that. But you're right. We're looking at all these people talking about what's going to happen in the next few years. Fortune said that by 2020, VR was going to be a $30 billion industry. I think that's a little low because we're not looking at what gaming is going to be in VR. I think that people don't realize you know, people are like, why are you so into VR? Why are you so into VR? Aren't you doing a lot of live video? I'm like, you don't understand that all these things are going to converge. These things are happening together. There's going to be a future where these glasses that I'm wearing right now are going to be able to plaster other people, or say you're wearing this cool dress and you have a little tag that is going to communicate with my glasses that's going to put flames like the girl on fire in Mockingbird.
Sure.
Or what's that movie, the Jennifer Lawrence thing? But anyways, yeah.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, yeah. You know, I mean, like augmented reality is the long-term play for VR. I was at Google headquarters and talking to the Google team, and their long-term play is augmented reality, and that makes sense because you're able to look at a bottle of beer or something like that and then be able to circle it and say, no, I don't like this. And then they'll say, next time, maybe get Blue Moon. You know, the long-term play is what you have to look at. But right now, have fun with what we've got.
Okay, well, now we've just got a few minutes left, and I wanted to bring it back to the citizen journalism thing. We now are putting broadcast capability in everyone's hands, everybody that's got a smartphone. What do you see with respect to the consumption across the globe? How is that going to evolve? Millennials are growing up with this technology as a part of their life, where I didn't grow up and have Google as a part of my life, and now it's synonymous with breathing. You know, it's there. So what is the future like with respect to live streaming and broadcasting? Are we going to be doing it a lot more?
I mean, kids are getting their news from Snapchat. You know, that's how people are consuming news. They're consuming it on Snapchat. And if we're talking about a decade of technology, everyone has $1 million worth of 1980s technology in their pocket. Everyone does. And so when we're talking about adoption, this is going to go much faster than people think. And we're talking about consumption right now. Live streaming is absolutely there. It's going to continue to get bigger, and it's going to expand to 360 degrees.
It's incredible.
And we're going to see more things along the lines of niches being filled, like education, like Discovery Network doing something. We're going to see channels that emerge that may fail, that are in live streaming, that are going to be the MTVs of live streaming,
Sure.
or the ESPNs of live streaming. Or maybe they're going to emerge from Periscope and be strong.
I'm looking forward to directories. I want to find some of this great content out there, and that seems to be one of the hardest things to do now, is actually find some of these great content providers. And I find out about other people through watching people that I like, and that seems to be about the limit of it.
I would agree with you. Content discovery
Is
definitely is a huge area of opportunity.
Yeah.
We know a few people that are working on ways to do content discovery, but right now it is so difficult to find.
Sure.
Like if you're really into one thing, it's hard to find that one thing. You have to follow the thought leaders and see if they are on live video.
Ryan Bell, Malia Probst, thank you both so much for spending time, letting us know
you, Larry.
where you came from and what's going on. There is more NAB Show Live coming up right after this. Stay tuned.
I'm Kerry Sanders, a correspondent with NBC News. I'm in Tampa right now, and you're watching NAB Show Live.
Live from Las Vegas, this is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hey guys, I'm Larry Becker. We've been talking about citizen journalists and live streaming on social media. Now we have some additional guests, some new guests coming to talk to us, and we're going to talk further and get some additional perspectives. My first guest is Dana Simone. Now Dana has been on TV. She's a TV talk show host. She's a woman with a purpose on fire. She's a mom, a TV talk show host, author, and travel agent. Dana is an inspiring woman to many. Let me read from this other prompter. That one's not even pointed at me. So she's and her main aspiration is to set heart aflame with joy, strength, passion, determination, wellness, empathy, and love. As a child growing up in Detroit, Michigan, she didn't dream about fairy tales and unicorns. She talked about the playground on becoming a female masterpiece. She discovered at the raw age of 18 that her leadership abilities, organization skills, and time management acumen were probably not normal. She's very focused, very deliberate, and relentless in her pursuit to empower women and girls. Dana strongly believes that everybody should seek to discover their purpose in life and live out that purpose with no excuses. Dana lives her life to grow, learn, build, and reach back, and she dares you to do the same. My other guest today is Rob Baynard. Now, Rob works at LiveX as a producer. He started his career with Media General and grew into producing commercials and live shows for production companies and corporate clients. Rob made the move to Kelby Media Group in 2012, where he helped establish the B&H Photo Project Review Videos. And as well as he worked on live and recorded shows at the Kelby TV and Kelby Training sites. Baynard moved on to New York in 2013 to join Livestream, where he produced and directed high-profile shows for fashion and entertainment and corporate brands. While at Livestream, Baynard directed shows for Spotify, the New York Times, Estee Lauder, and the entire 2015 awards show season for the Associated Press, including People's Choice, SAG, Grammys, and Oscars. Baynard left Livestream in January of this year to join LiveX, a boutique production company in Midtown Manhattan specializing in live design production, systems, integration, and projection mapping for select clients and agencies. And recently, Rob Baynard has been working on Cheddar TV, which is launching in early May and broadcasting live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, targeting young professionals and focusing on brands that matter most to millennials. Please welcome Dana and Rob. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Now, I knew you both before you guys got here to the show, and I really am looking forward to talking to you a little bit deeper than we did in the first half hour about citizen journalism and live streaming. And I want to start with you, Dana, and ask you a little bit about your experience in citizen journalism. So before a year ago, when we all got these apps and we started live streaming with Periscope and Meerkat and so forth, you actually were doing some, what I would call legitimate citizen journalism. Tell me a little bit about what you did.
Correct. So the normal thing that we would see is that you're in a TV station, you're producing a show, you're coming up with your content, you're figuring out, again, your normal basics, finding your audience, who your target audience is going to be, but you do it inside of a brick and mortar. You're doing it various places where we do parts of my show against a green screen. So we have to go to a studio, then we go to a TV station and actually tape things that are live, or they can be pre-recorded, which pre-recorded, now you may not have a live audience versus live stream. You may not have a live audience, and so you have to appear as if people are in the room, which may seem, you may seem a little bit psycho to actually have to, nod at somebody or laugh or smile at somebody. And so it's a little bit more structured or trying to figure out or trying to engage with people that aren't necessarily there when you're doing a pre-recording. Yeah. And so that piece of it is much different from what we're doing right now.
Well, now, and also previously, before all the live streaming stuff, you did some things with CNN, right?
Right. Well, that was with like CNN iReport.
Okay, so how did that work?
So CNN iReport is almost like what we're doing with Periscope and Facebook Live. So CNN iReport, you can actually send them a video or send them a photo, and you can actually write documents or write information that CNN would pick up. And so CNN iReport would pick up the information, you actually upload it into CNN iReport, either on their website or on your phone, and they would look at the data and they would post that on all their websites and that kind of thing. Well, then there are times when CNN would actually pick up the story and talk about it on CNN. So it may have been on CNN iReport, meaning citizens are reporting the information where they are, but then they would call and they would validate and just kind of validate my information. So there were a couple times where they called and said, oh, hey, okay, you got all that snow in Chicago. Okay, you know, how old is your daughter before we post this on TV, or that kind of thing. Or they would ask me just different information about what it was that I submitted, just to validate before they actually put it on their actual show. So that was a little bit, you know, along the lines of coming up to this live stream where we are today.
Yeah, and so you started citizen journalism before the live stream technology. Now you started live streaming before the current set of technology. Rob, I've known you for a lot of years, and you have always been my technology go-to guy. I would ask you questions about what's going on in the industry, and so let's talk a little bit about that. You are a young guy, but you've seen the industry evolve. So talk about where you came from and what you see the evolution as where we're landing right now today.
Yeah, you know, traditional media is by and large losing its grip, especially with younger generations. You know, a lot of millennials these days are cutting the cord. They're moving away from cable subscriptions and moving to getting their news online. Like the people who are up here before me telling me that, you know, millennials are getting their news from Snapchat and Facebook. And, you know, we're seeing this evolution a lot, and it's opened the door for a lot of new players. You know, you don't have to be a major network anymore to attract a large audience. You know, I think we saw it first with YouTube. When we were both at Kelby back, we would stream to YouTube, also Ustream, and, you know, we would create content, create a subscription VOD model. I think, you know, there's a lot of great things happening with SVOD right now. We currently do 2 daily live shows. One is Daily Burn, which is a fitness show created by IAC Interactive Corp, which owns several media outlets, and they're creating this live streaming daily fitness show that goes 9 a.m. Eastern from a studio in Long Island City. They're getting great press, and they have celebrity guests, and the content stays up for 24 hours until the next show. They also have like meal plans and recorded fitness programs anywhere from like 3 days to or 15 days to 3 months. And then the other show that I'm working on with LiveX is Cheddar TV, which is in the midst of a soft launch right now with Facebook Live. And May 2nd is the target launch date. And they're looking to make a similar subscription VOD model with plays to connected televisions and Vimeo subscriptions. And, you know, it's really amazing how now Cheddar is a business news show targeted at young professionals, focusing on tech stocks and media companies. You know, I think John Steinberg is watching right now. He's a former BuzzFeed CEO, and now he started Cheddar. And I think he was quoted one time in saying, "You'll never see anyone over 40 on air."
Yeah, I was going to apply, but yeah, I heard that quote.
So, you know, you would never hear these things in the past. Obviously, you would want the authorities on these subjects.
Sure.
You know, we're broadcasting live from the New York Stock Exchange trading floor with a remote link at NASDAQ, and you know, it's very interesting that with the startup cost, roughly 1/10 of what major news network would do. I think the initial studio build was about $200,000, which for citizen journalists may seem like a lot, but when you're trying to take on, you know, a different approach to the CNBCs or the Bloombergs out there, the amount of money spent goes a long way. And there's also a lot of media companies are starting to realize that they can't get people to come to them. They really need to become a distributed media company and branch out and go where their audience is. And I think Periscope, Snapchat, Facebook Live, YouTube Red, Vimeo subscription models, these are where this is where content is going to live in the future and currently, because that's where your audience is. You know, a lot of us are watching news on our phones. We're not able to, you know, sit down for those hours, especially in New York. We all work too much. We can't sit down at a TV and, you know, watch our news shows like we used to or whatever. So, yeah, it's a very interesting time right now in live streaming and disruptive business models
But that's also from the outside perspective. So from the inside, behind the scenes, the guy that's running the camera, the guy that's running switches, you used to talk to me about tech gear, and the conversations would go over my head because I'm used to being on camera, and oh yeah, I know a little bit about those control rooms with the big monitors and all the buttons and dials and stuff. And so with respect to that, it's interesting that the bar is so much lower to still get that high level of professional production.
Yeah, and actually it looks a lot better now than even the major media companies, because we're able to use innovative camera technologies like at Cheddar we're using 5 Blackmagic 4K studio cameras that look amazing. And when you compare it next to the PTZ heads, the Panasonic PTZ heads that CNBC is using across the way from us, I mean, it gets what people used to call that 5D look.
Yeah.
And, and that's what people want to see. They want to see a more cinematic image. We're using software switchers instead of hardware switchers.
Okay.
Software switchers, the entry level is a lot lower, but you can do a lot more with them. You can integrate graphics.
Sure.
You can bring in WebRTC calls, Skype calls, things that you just can't do with a traditional hardware switcher. And you need an entire control room full of racks and gear and everything else to be able to, put on a show where, let's face it, we do have the second largest studio on the stock exchange floor next to CNBC, but it is still a very small space. And so, like, our chief content officer, Peter Gorenstein, came from Yahoo Finance, where they worked with Ross Expression graphics and stuff like that.
Sure.
We couldn't fit a Ross machine into that space.
Right.
I mean, if anybody's ever seen the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, there's just not much space. So we had to think about how to scale down everything to be able to produce a really high quality show and still be able to push it out live to our audience and have it look professional. Now,
yeah, and I think that's really kind of an interesting thing, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted you two on at the same time, because Dana, you are producing great looking content, and you're hitting that same kind of middle ground, but you're coming at it from the perspective of having been a person on camera, and you're leveraging the talents and the tech capabilities to do that. Tell me a bit about the show structure. What is a typical show build like for you? How does that work?
So when we're getting ready to shoot an episode, we have maybe 1 or 2 guests that will shoot for that particular day. And I have interns from a local high school where those students will come in. They're studying theater, or they want to be in broadcasting or media when they grow up, and so I utilize them. They don't have a whole lot of knowledge, but they have a lot of passion. They know how to work some cameras, they can do some editing. And so when we set that up at the TV station already has the equipment, so
Sure.
I don't really have to bring anything, but my producer, he will bring maybe 1 or 2 different types of cameras. I'll bring in a teleprompter because that studio may not have a teleprompter, but I'll bring in a teleprompter. We'll have 3 cameras. I'll have my facing camera, the guests will have their facing camera, and then my center camera just for wide out lenses. But there's not a whole lot of equipment that we're using until post-editing. So
Okay.
now we like to use TriCaster, but we use TriCaster when we're at an actual studio. When we're at the studio with the green screen, we can actually do the live on camera type of switching between, like he was mentioning about the switching. So TriCaster works well with that. But just on a normal day-to-day, we do the shoot first and then edit after
Sure.
that's done. Definitely edit after it's done.
But you also do some live streaming, and that's where I watch you all the time. So
Yes.
tell me about that, and how does that fit in with the recorded things that you do?
So I'm on Periscope, and I'm also on Facebook Live.
Sure.
So recently, of course, Facebook Live just became birthed a couple months ago, and Periscope just turned 1 year old. So I've been Periscoping since last June. And then as time went on, and I was Periscoping just kind of comical, whimsical, not really understanding the culture of what Periscope was at the time. But it wasn't until just recently, a few months ago, when I figured out, okay, there is a culture to Periscope. There is content. There is a certain way that before you hit that red button, there is a way that you have to be that almost looks as if you're actually doing a show. I mean, it's Periscope.tv for a reason. It really is TV, and you really would prepare yourself the same way as doing it from my phone or my iPad as you would if you're going into a TV station.
Yeah.
It's the same way, but I have a live audience sitting there. People are engaging with me. They're typing comments. And that's the difference of doing it on TV inside of a TV station. There's no comments at the TV station, but you have to follow the comments, what people are saying. You have to follow it. They're tapping the screen, giving you hearts. They're asking you questions. And there could be several people on that broadcast, and those comments are going up, and those questions are going up, and they're constantly saying things. And then you have your wonderful trolls, the people who really, you don't want in your broadcast making comments, and then you have to try to overlook those. So it's a little bit more inundated when you're doing the live stream, and you have to be poised and know your content, what you're doing before you hit that red button, because it can take you can throw you off a little bit if you're not prepared for that.
Sure. Now, Rob, the world that you live in, I would relate more or describe more as closer to traditional, but leveraging the technology capabilities of today, as opposed to live streaming from a citizen or an individual perspective.
Sure.
So how do you see those worlds blending? Is that becoming a part of your world at all?
I mean, I think, increasingly the intersection between internet and television is growing, and there is not going to be any more traditional cable packages. There are too many channels. People are not loyal to channels anymore. It's all about shows. And if you have great content, you'll attract the audience. Like, for instance, just Saturday, LiveX, we did a stream to Facebook Live with Kevin Hart for Nike, and in Boston, of Kevin Hart just running around being somebody's pacer in downtown Boston. And it was on Facebook Live, no marketing, no media announcement, nothing like that. We had over 355,000 live viewers. And, it was a surprise to everyone. Now, sure, we're leveraging Kevin Hart's 28 million Facebook followers. But, when we talk about Periscope, I mean, the fact that Facebook Live was just introduced, I think, they're going to take over every cable media network. Look, if you look at the sheer numbers, Periscope has about 10 million users. Facebook has 1.59 billion. And so when you're talking about sheer numbers, like, people go to where the content is. They're already inside their Facebook app. Facebook's going to spend $1 billion this year on media buys alone, just to buy content to put it on Facebook. Zuckerberg is making a big play here. And at Cheddar, we were waiting with bated breath for them to release it at F8, release the professional API. In fact, the morning of F8, I'm doing a show where I'm shooting a screen in a black box with a phone, so you could roll in packages and lower thirds and things like that and cut cameras around. And then, by the afternoon, we had them on the professional API with our broadcast switchers, with vMix, actually.
That's incredible.
And then the next morning was their third ever public live show in this soft launch, and they had over 42,000 views.
Okay, so I like the numbers, and I like the direction and the adoption of Facebook's, I guess, the way they're describing the world and what they're going to do. The interesting thing to me, though, and I'm going to play a little devil's advocate, and I'd like your opinions on this. Facebook has a very specific place in our lives. We go to Facebook to find out when is Phil's birthday, and I'm going to waste a couple hours here or a couple minutes here at work, and it's a time killer. Facebook, I do not go to be educated by Facebook.
Yet.
I don't go to learn yet, true, but I don't go to learn at Facebook. And I do go to learn at YouTube, and I do to a degree, based on the people that I follow, I go to learn on Periscope. So what do you think the evolution of those things, and it brings up something I brought up in the first half, which is there are no directories yet. So we can't find these people except hearing about them. And that's why things like Kevin Hart being on Facebook Live is viral, because people care about Kevin Hart. Oh my gosh, he's hilarious. And I can watch him jog and I'm going to laugh because he's a funny guy, and I would watch that on Facebook Live. But For the rest of us who aren't Kevin Hart and we have a message and content to put out as part of a company, how is that all going to come together? Dana, what do you think?
See, and that's the one thing about it is that because Facebook Live is still kind of new, it does have the numbers. It does definitely have the numbers, but the culture is not there yet. As far as how do you get the people to come to that content? How do you get people to come to Facebook Live to learn from Facebook Live? And so when
consume and buy.
Right. Exactly, and trying to do that. Whereas on Periscope, you're going for a specific reason. You know this person scopes about books, this person scopes about time management, this person. So you go to that and you're following them for that particular reason. So when I actually do my Periscope and my Facebook, I do them dual. I have a dual Archon mount where I do it at the same time. So that way I'm kind of educating or teaching my audience, my followers, that I'm on both of these, so that now Facebook understands, for the Facebook viewers who are never going to download Periscope, they're never going to download that app, but I'm going to give you the content that I have on Periscope, and I'm just trying to educate them at the same time. Here's where we are. The titles are very important when you go on Facebook Live, just as it is on Periscope, but you have followers who are specific on Periscope. Facebook Live, you have to do a little bit more training. You got to get a grid title. You want to make sure people are tagging the proper names. You want to make sure people are sharing for you, that engagement, so that way you can build Facebook Live up to that level of culture that Periscope has already introduced.
Sure.
And sometimes you get the notifications from Facebook Live. It'll say, you know, Dana Simone is live now, or Dana Simone was live now. They will send you those notifications, but again, your Facebook followers need to know that they need to have the notifications on in order to be able to get that content, in order to know and what to do. But I think now it's just that education. It's only been a couple months for Facebook. Yes, they have the huge numbers, but it's going to be that learning curve to getting your followers there, getting your followers to engage with you. Because a lot of times, even in Facebook Live, people will come in and they'll sit there, they'll kind of stalk it a little bit, and they're kind of scared to type things. They won't say anything. But on my Periscope screen, I got 40 comments.
It's a different culture.
It's a different culture.
And the other interesting thing, Rob, is about the, and I know we're tight on time here, the fact that the pro-level technology is being incorporated into the Facebook approach. Do you see that as the final straw for Periscope? Do they have to catch up or lose?
I do think it is difficult. It's going to be very difficult for Periscope. It's very difficult for live streaming in general if you don't have a professional show.
Yeah.
It's shown that, and that's why Facebook had to release the professional API, because it's shown that it's very difficult to get into just somebody going live on their phone. And if you don't have access to text on screen, if you don't have access to motion graphics, packages, transitions, it's very difficult to keep people engaged. The amount of time people may spend, that's why your Periscopes are generally very short broadcasts, because you can't hold the audience's attention.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a lot coming, and it's amazing how quickly all of this is unfolding. You'll see lots more reporting about the state-of-the-art in technology in broadcast throughout the week here on the NAB Show Live.